Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Football Podcast. I am Ryan Wormeli, joined as always by Pat Fitzmaurice and by Scott Bogman. Fellas, last week we talked about breakouts to buy in Dynasty at this time of year. This week we're doing the opposite. We're talking about busts or just generally guys that we're fading, guys we want to be selling in Dynasty right now. So kind of the mirror episode to what we all heard last week. We're going to go through the same format of picking one player at each position and then kind of a number one overall fade guy that you really want to sell. We kind of framed this in preparing for the show. Like I think we used the phrase sell high. I do want to say, like, you can kind of, I don't really like that kind of phrasing because I think I would just prefer the framework of sells and buys. Like you can buy high and buy low. Those are both equally important skills. You can sell high, and selling low is sometimes also really valuable too. So I do want to kind of not do the standard saying sell high here. You can sell low on these guys too. And I think some of these guys maybe will fall into that category for you. And I still think that's an important thing to be trying to do in Dynasty. So I just wanted to kind of make that point off the top. As a reminder for everybody, all of our 2025 consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. You can navigate to our Dynasty rankings from there as well. Before we get into our player picks here, guys, I want to talk about why selling proactively really is an important skill in Dynasty. Fitz, let's start with you. What mindset do you have when you go into trying to determine if this is the right time to sell a guy? Or are you more reactive and saying, oh, if somebody's coming to me, maybe I'll look to move off? Or do you try and take a proactive approach?
Yeah, I mean, I do try to take a proactive approach, and age is obviously a marker, like trying to move certain guys maybe as they get into their 30s or whatever, and maybe, sell those people to teams looking to win now if I'm not one of those teams. And I won't sell if on an older player if I am in win now mode. But age is the big one. But then also maybe, and this is the case with a couple of guys I'm going to talk about today, if I just sense that maybe there's a downturn coming.
Bogman, when it comes to selling players for you, besides age, is there anything you look for that makes you, that kind of is a flag to you that, okay, it's time to start thinking about selling this guy?
Yeah, I think instead of sell high, sell low, it's sell now. I think that's kind of more of what. Yeah, that's more how I pick my players. Like I do think that they're going to crater in value somewhat soon. Maybe it's not this season, maybe it's not even next season, but over the course of their career, they're coming to the end. I think age is the biggest one, but also situation and you know there are other situations like when we get to my favorite one, it's kind of a combo deal, right? Like, so I think the important thing to know is when to sell, and um, there are stages of selling, right? You can sell a guy at his peak. They're selling a guy right after the draft because you think he's overhyped, right? They're selling a guy after a really good season in the middle of a good run. So there's many different ways to sell. All of these guys are like stocks in your league. Their value is going to go up and down depending on week to week and season to season. So just selling at a good point when they still have value, because you do, keyholing it is they still have to have value enough for someone to want to buy, and you have to get something decent back to hit the nail perfectly on the head. Most trades are not perfect, I'll say that. So, but yeah, that's how I kind of look at it. It's more of a win to sell, and that could just be public perception on a player. If I feel like a player is getting a ton of hype and I just can't see why, or it's almost all volume related, not really the skill of the player, then I'm looking to sell that player.
Fitz, do you feel like most of your trades in Dynasty leagues are I'm trying to buy the guy I acquire, or are they more I'm trying to sell the guy I'm getting rid of? Or is it a fairly even split?
It's kind of a pretty even mix, I would say.
Bogman?
I would say it's more most of the trades during the season are to replace an injured player. So it's more like maybe I don't even like this guy, but I need to replace him. So I need to do a deal. I think a lot of trades are needs based. I think the offseason trades, that's when you're trying to make your starting lineup way better. You should be doing that in the regular season too, but I think most trades are done out of necessity more than just working on it a lot of the time.
Last general question before we get into the players. Fitz, is there, besides running back, because I think that's an obvious one because the shelf life is so short and it's so easy to get injured. Besides running back, is there a position that you more proactively look to sell? Like, I want to try and time the market specifically on tight ends or quarterbacks or receivers, or is it really just a player by player case?
It is player by player. We know the quarterback market is tough in Superflex, and I tend to pretty much play exclusively Superflex. It's just hard to deal quarterbacks there because the prices are so exorbitant. And tight end, I've found it's kind of hard to make deals because I don't know, maybe it's changing a little bit now, but it seems like no one wants to pay a premium to trade for a premium tight end. So those deals are hard to swing. I've found that most of the deals I'm in usually are revolving around running backs and wide receivers.
Bogman, same question.
Yeah, it's either people don't want to pay for these tight ends, like you said, Fitzy, or they're just unbelievably cheap. There's good enough guys on the wire, so why would you trade for somebody? I'd say one of my favorite trading strategies is hoarding quarterbacks in a super flex league. Like if my team's not good, and I'm rebuilding for a season, and I don't like the players in the draft, I'll start snapping up quarterbacks left and right to trade to people that need them because I know I'm going to get an overpay. So, if we're talking positions, quarterback in a super flex is something I like to, I'll take a flyer on Will Howard, Quinn Ewers. I think there's a bunch of guys at the end of a rookie draft this year to take a flyer on in the super flex just to see if they pan out.
Let's get into the players. We'll start at the quarterback position, kind of what we're already discussing a little bit here. Fitz, I'll start with you. Who's your favorite sell high, sell low, whatever, your sell candidate at quarterback?
Kyler Murray is one for me, and he's probably a guy I should sell in my primary dynasty league since he's been on my roster since I think we had the startup draft. He's QB 15 in ECR. I have him at QB 18. I think my main concern is that I don't know if Kyler Murray is still a starting NFL quarterback by 2027, which I believe is the last year of his contract, aside from maybe a team option in 2028. And I think the Cardinals could maybe potentially get away from Kyler after 2026. He's 36, 45, and 1 as a starter for Arizona. His career average of 7 yards per pass attempt is pretty average. His TD interception ratio is basically 2-1 for his career, average at best. I guess passing numbers are tolerable for fantasy. His rushing numbers led to some exciting fantasy seasons early in his career. Well, one basically, 2020 when he ran for 819 yards and 11 touchdowns. Since then, he hasn't had more than 5 touchdown runs in any season. He's been averaging about 30 to 33 rushing yards per game. He's just sort of settled into low-end quarterback 1 range, which is fine. It's just that he's kind of stagnated for the Cardinals. Kyler hasn't really been getting better. And this thing where he doesn't throw over the middle of the field, like ostensibly because he's short, it's kind of a hindrance. Like Kyler's apparent lack of chemistry with Marvin Harrison is a big problem for the Cardinals organization. I just feel like this is a good time to maybe look for the exit door because it might not be long before the Cardinals are looking for the exit door.
Bogman, what do you think? Because Kyler, like with his running, does seem like a guy that you could at least paint the picture of there's real upside here. So is he somebody you're looking to sell? And if you are looking to sell, what do you think is a reasonable price in return?
Ooh, reasonable price is tough for him. Like I would say an RB2, RB3 probably at this point because he's kind of I think for this year for redraft, he's a high end QB2. I think in Dynasty, he's kind of a mid QB2, isn't he? Like ECR 17 or 16 or something like that.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off for a second. When you say RB2 or RB3, do you mean in a 1 QB league or in a super flex?
I mean, in a 1 QB.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because I was going to say that seems way low, but
you're right. You're right. Okay. In a super flex, it should be a high end RB2 for Kyler Murray. But I agree with Fitz. Like, and I was a Kyler guy coming out, and I still think he's pretty good. But in terms of the NFL, I think his issues are becoming more exposed every single season. So I cannot wait for him to be the Steelers quarterback in 2027. That's clearly what's going to happen with this. But I think I'm off the Kyler Murray hype train as well. If he starts the wheels again and the connection is better with Marvin Harrison, I think he could teeter the other way. But I think you're asking for way too much to happen for that to align perfectly.
Fitz, what would be the return for you that you'd be looking for?
Oh, man. So, I don't know. We have him on our Dynasty, on our FantasyPros Dynasty trade value chart valued at 55 in Superflex, which is the equivalent of I don't know, it's a 2026 early first. I mean, I'd absolutely take that if I could get it. Other guys on there, some pretty good running backs like Kenneth Walker, Chase Brown, young guys with upside, Travion Henderson. If I had the depth at quarterback to pull it off, I would be willing to take certainly like a young, exciting running back like Travion Henderson for him. And I know like that would probably offend some super flex managers who, because quarterbacks are sort of the currency of super flex. But man, I'm not real bullish on the future for Kyler.
You are particularly high on Henderson, like in that example, though. You have him at top 8 running back in Dynasty right now. So worth keeping in mind with that name that you throw out there. Bogman, what quarterback did you want to talk about?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not down on too many QBs because, the problem with seeing the upside and the downside with everybody is like, I don't want to really knock too many of these guys. So to me, this was obviously Tua, right? And it's obviously a little bit boring, right? And I only have him one spot off of ECR, but I think in the last couple seasons for Tua, it was really majorly just the injury stuff, which is a huge thing still. 5 concussions in his career throughout college and the NFL. And those are the ones we know about. Obviously, we don't know about if he had high school concussions and things like that. So, 3 is a huge impact in your brain health. He says he doesn't care, but I think you have to consider that. Also, let's consider the Dolphins here. He is maybe one of the worst fitting quarterbacks for this offense in the NFL. All he does is throw short. Last season, he was dead last in 47 qualified quarterbacks in deep throws, 5.5%. The next lowest was 6.8%. So 1.3% below the next lowest. There's great weapons in Miami, but they're deep threats. I mean, Jalen Waddle can do anything, but he is a deep threat. So is Tyreek Hill. Like, these guys can get open deep. They can play deep. This dude's not throwing the ball deep. You just got rid of his best target from last season, Jonnu Smith, who was great at those short yardage passes, right? Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat. The offensive line is bad. So I think Tua is a good quarterback. I don't think he fits in Miami with what they're doing. And I don't think his career is going to last much longer because of these injuries. And when he came in the NFL, the injury thing was about his hip. It wasn't about his concussions or anything like that. So there are other concerns about his frame and size as well. So it's just death by a million cuts for Tua. There's way too many things for me to bother rostering him, even if I'm waiting on a quarterback.
Yeah, I just have very, very little interest in Tua. This to me would like definitely fall under like I would be willing to sell low if I can get anything of value. I'm taking it because I just don't want to be riding the roller coaster. Like I just do not want to be the guy who is on the edge of his seat every time Tua takes a hit. It's tough to watch a lot of the time. And even aside from that, even just stylistically who he is in terms of a fantasy quarterback, this was 2 years ago, but he led the league in passing and was QB 19 on the season. I'm like, there is just not a ceiling here with his inability to run, which is like, somewhat driven by the injuries. So it's just not a good formula.
They don't design any runs for him, and he's not scrambling anymore. Like the rushing side is dead.
No, and there's downside in the passing game. If there are people who think that the Dolphins could kind of fall apart this season, and there's the injury stuff. So like, yeah, like you said, it's almost like a boring pick, but I think I totally agree. Like, don't hold out for a lot for him. Just move on for whatever you can get.
Move on.
That's my opinion. Fitz, what do you think?
Yeah, you make a good point about how the ceiling is kind of capped without the rushing ability, and that he didn't have a good finish even 2 years ago when he led the league in passing. I don't think the short passing game is necessarily how they want to play. I think that's how Mike McDaniel felt they had to play last year after Tua came back from the concussion with an offensive line that did not play as well last year as it had in 2023. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more vertical of a passing game for the Dolphins this year. Like Tua averaged 5.7 yards, air yards per pass attempt last year. Back in 2023, 2, I think that number had been 9.5. Like he was challenging defenses vertically
He
a
can
few
throw the
years
ball
ago.
deep.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
has the ability to do it, but I think they made this adjustment because of his injury stuff, right? I think it's more the injury than the bad O-line. It was definitely a combo, like you're mentioning, but I think it was more the injury.
Yeah, and I think McDaniel probably feels like they have to stretch out the passing game a little more this year, but then does that put Tua's health at risk? So yeah, I can't argue with the notion of Tua as a sell candidate. The only question is, it just seems like everyone is scared of Tua right now, and our dynasty trade value chart sort of reflects that. Like he's got the same value in Superflex as Tucker Kraft. And honestly, I mean, I think that's about the going rate for Tua these days.
I'd much rather have Tucker Kraft, just even in a super flex, to be fair.
I think I would too. You can see how far these breakout names might fall in your Dynasty startup drafts by using our draft simulator. The draft simulator allows you to practice quick and fun, realistic redraft or Dynasty mock drafts based on your league settings in minutes. Sync your league for free and try it today at fantasypros.com/mock or download the Fantasy Football Draft Wizard app. Let's go to the wide receivers here. Fitz, who do you have for us?
Oh, if we're going to wide receiver, Amon Ra St Brown. This is a sell high case, like we were talking about earlier in the show, Worm. Like the Sun God is a wonderful player. I do think he might be somewhat overpriced in Dynasty, though. If you have Amon Ra on your Dynasty team and decide to part with him, like you can get an absolute haul for him. He's been the wide receiver 7, wide receiver 3, and wide receiver 3 in fantasy scoring the past 3 years in PPR, which most Dynasty leagues are. His scoring was slightly down last year, though. He went from 20.7 PPR fantasy points per game in 2023 to 18.6 last year. Obviously, that's still top production. But for Amon Ra St. Brown to get within 2 fantasy points per game of where he was in 2023, he needed to score a career high 12 touchdowns and catch 81.6 of his targets, which is just an insane catch rate. Like his catch rate had been a very good 72.6 the previous 2 seasons. So it spiked by 9 percentage points over what was already a high catch rate. It's just that his targets fell off last year. He had averaged 10.3 targets a game in 2023, only 8.3 last year. And I think the emergence of Jameson Williams was a big reason for that. Like JMO had his first 1,000-yard season, and he's become a big part of the Detroit offense. So it's kind of hard to see Amon Ra getting back to 10 targets a game. It's also hard to see Amon Ra scoring another 12 touchdowns. I mean, the Lions scored a league high 70 TDs on offense last season. No other team had more than 65. And now Ben Johnson isn't running that offense anymore. And by the way, Ben Johnson really had a way of funneling targets into the slot. Will that be the case with new Lions OC John Morton? So in ECR, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., Nico Collins, Drake London are all ranked behind Amon Ra St. Brown in Dynasty. I have all 4 of those guys ranked ahead of Amon Ra St. Brown. And I'm not slamming him by any means. He's awesome. But I do think he's kind of overpriced right now. And if you've got the depth to deal him, like you could, that is impressive bait to put on your hook, and you could catch a big fish or 2 with that.
You beat me to it on listing some of the other names around him because I was going to say the same thing. Like Puka, I kind of go back and forth on just given like he gets banged up a lot and Matthew Stafford is older and has this back injury. So like Puka versus Amon Ra, I think is an interesting conversation. Those other 3 guys in tier 2 where Amon Ra is at the top, he's wide receiver 5 in our consensus dynasty rankings. But Brian Thomas Jr., Nico Collins, Drake London, unequivocally, I'm taking over Amon Ra. I'm not saying the gap is massive, but I am saying it's an easy decision for me. I would rather have those 3 over Amon Ra, very, very definitively for myself. So I agree with you. Like, I don't think St. Brown should be outside of tier 2. Like, I'm not saying he should plummet off these rankings, but if you can maybe quote unquote downgrade based on consensus from Amon Ra to like Drake London or Nico, or even like Lad McConkey, if you want to get down to tier 3 and add another piece with that, I really like that strategy. Or just get like if you're a rebuilder, get a crazy haul of picks or something like that. I'm totally with you on this one, Fitz. And Bogman, I'm curious, I don't have your rankings up in front of me, but I'm curious where you come down on Amon Ra and if you would agree with this.
I don't, not even a little. Listen, and I like Amon Ra. Nico, I like Nico. I mean, Nico's had an injury history, right? Like, and I love Nico. I accept putting Brian Thomas Jr. Ahead of him. That's fine. But right? He has Travis Hunter next to him now. And I know JMO should get more in the offense, and we're changing offensive coordinators. And I don't disagree that this is the right time to sell high on Amon Ra St. Brown, because I think Fitz is right in the fact that, like, he probably peaked 2 seasons ago, right? So we're probably in the middle of the peak. Maybe we're on the back end of his, peaking, because we are losing the OC. They're going more to Jahmyr Gibbs. Jameis Williams going to be used more, so I understand selling him. I'm not saying don't sell him, but I still like Amon Ra St. Brown, one of the hardest workers in the NFL as well. And he's a guy that every OC is going to funnel the ball to, because they see him do it at practice. They see him do it every single day. So I think he's just going to continue to be rewarded and be one of the higher volume wide receivers in the league. So I do agree. You order these guys any way you want, but Amon Ra, to me, I still have Puka ahead of him, but Amon Ra to me is way up there. So I'm not selling him, but I do understand if you can get a haul for him, it might be worth more than he is down the stretch.
So he's 6th for you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
6.
All right. Who's the wide receiver you want to talk about here, Bogman?
I'm going to say Terry McLaurin. And there's a couple things here, and I like Terry, and I feel like I have no problem taking him, but he is 30. He's in a holdout, and he just had a massive amount of touchdowns. It was 13 touchdowns last season. Now, I think a lot of people are going to see that and say, well, he's had horrific quarterback play. So you get Jaden Daniels in there, and now this is going to continue. It might. Is that within the realm of possibility? Of course it is. But this was 34.3% of his production last season in half PPR. It's the first time he went over 200 points. He had been flirting with it, 190 and a half in 2022, 180.3 in 2020. But I mean, this low touchdown total kept him away. So I think the holdout, the fact that they added Debo, I think they're going to get better at the running back position soon. Jaden Daniels still runs the ball a lot. T-Mac is the number one right now, but he's over 30. There's new guys coming in the league. He's in a holdout. They're adding players. I think it is the right time to get out from under McLaurin right now. I think other people have that, so he's not like a peak sell now, like Amon Ra St. Brown. I'm not going to get as sexy as Fitz on this show. I could say that, but yeah, I think I would sell T-Mac right now if I could.
I feel like the right time to sell McLaurin, Bogman, would be
It was last year.
No, well, I was going to say the day he signs whatever extension he signs.
Okay, that could be it
you
too.
wait, because he's going to sign a contract, whether it's with the Commanders or somebody else. I think that is the moment that you trade him, because he has been a sneaky old guy for a while. Like, for a guy who came into the league in 2019 to already be 30, he is just older than you might realize.
And if they do trade him, Worm, who is his quarterback? If they trade him to Pittsburgh, do you want him at all?
Yeah, it really depends where he goes. So that is an air of uncertainty around him. So yeah, I think I'm curious. Before I toss the Fitz, Bogman, I want to go back to you. What would you want for him? Because you're recognizing that this maybe isn't selling at his peak, but that it is still a good time to sell. What is your expectation of a return?
I got him at, like, if I could just get younger, give me if I could get Pickens and a pick, I think I would do that. If I could get Waddle and something on top, I
he's
think I would
2
do
spots
that.
ahead of Igbuka in the consensus rankings.
Perfect. Give me Igbuka all day. If I'm a bottom feeder and I can get Igbuka and give a contender Terry McLaurin, that's like a perfect deal.
I don't know if you could get that, but 2 of the guys who I think you maybe could get for him if you wanted to get younger, and they have the same value as Terry McLaurin on our trade value chart, the 2 rookie tight ends, Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren.
I would do that too, specifically if I didn't have a tight end. I would take a shot on one of those guys, because Terry McLaurin, let's say 2 more really good years, right? And he's going into his year 33 season, and I don't want to mess with older wide receivers at that point. So yeah, I get younger, I would say, especially if you're not contending with T-Mac.
Fitz, let's go to the running backs.
All right. So I am going to go with Tony Pollard here. He is running back 25 in ECR, running back 33 for me. He used to be this high efficiency passing down back in Dallas, back when the Cowboys still had Ezekiel Elliott. Pollard averaged over his first 4 NFL seasons 5.1 yards per attempt. But like, that's the thing about being a passing down back. When you run, it's often against light boxes because, well, defenses are expecting the pass, and you get these pumped up efficiency numbers. And while Pollard was a pretty good pass catcher in those years, he wasn't really a difference maker. Never had more than 39 catches or 371 yards. Pollard got his big chance, though, with the Cowboys in 2023 after Zeke had left. And Pollard finished RB13 in PPR fantasy points overall, only RB23 in PPR fantasy points per game. And the efficiency disappeared. Like, he averaged a career low 4.0 yards per carry and a career low 5.7 yards per catch in 2023, only scored 6 touchdowns. And there was speculation that Pollard hadn't fully recovered from a fractured left fibula he sustained in the 2022 playoffs. That shouldn't have really been an issue last year, his first year with the Titans. But again, Pollard was just okay. RB21 in PPR scoring, RB22 in PPR points per game, 4.2 yards per carry, 5.8 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's 28 now, so he's sort of moving into the past prime phase of his career, and we haven't gotten the big season in a lead role that we were hoping for. So Titans head coach Brian Callahan's kind of talking about wanting to get Tyjae Spears more involved. I don't understand Pollard's ECR. I think he's probably someone dynasty managers should be looking to move on from while he still has a little bit of trade value.
Bogman, for you, Tony Pollard is RB25. Is that too high, too low, or just right?
I have him at 26, so I think he's about right. And I'll say this: I like Pollard for this season for redraft because I think he's a better back than Spears. I think this Spears being involved is overrated, but Pollard is not good enough to, there's good running backs coming in the class next year. And I don't think him or Spears are good enough that if they draft Nick Singleton or Jeremiah Love or Katron Allen or Malachi Hughes, like one of these good backs that's going to be near the top of the board, these dudes aren't getting carries next to fresh legs coming out of college like that. So I think long term, these guys are both a little bit better than a Jag. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of situations like that. We'll get to some a little bit later. But yes, I think getting out from under a guy like Tony Pollard, who could have a good year, I think maybe the best time to trade him would be middle of this year. If he's getting a decent amount of run, then trade him this year because I just don't think he's not very protected. He's not good enough to avoid being replaced.
Yeah, if I can just add on, like, I do think maybe he could have a better year as a runner this year because the Titans did have a lot of offensive line injuries last year. They've added Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler. So that line
Cam Ward, making it so they don't have 10 in the box every time should be better.
Yeah, he could be more efficient as a runner, but I also do kind of worry that Tyjae Spears might own the passing downs this year. Like, I think he's the better pass catching back.
Let's go to your running back here, Bogman.
Yeah, it's Aaron Jones. This one is pretty easy. I think I may have said it before on this podcast, but right now his ECR is RB32. I don't hate that for this season, but he had a career high 306 total touches last year, and they added Jordan Mason. And this Minnesota offense last season, 14th in rushing attempts, under Darnold. They were 28th and 30th in their first 2 seasons. Their rushing percentage is very, very low typically. It might still be high this season with a first-year starter and JJ McCarthy under helm here. So maybe it looks somewhat similar and more balanced this year like it did last season. But the idea of this offense and why you have Jefferson and Hockensen and Addison and you keep drafting guys like Naylor and Ty Felton, right? Like you keep adding to this class is because this is going to be a high passing heavy offense. And Aaron Jones is a little bit older for a running back. They traded for Jordan Mason. I think the rushing attempts are going to slip this year. And even if they don't slip, they're going to be way more split because Jordan Mason is obviously way better than Ty Chandler, who, like Fetch, I kept wanting to happen and he didn't happen. I think just Jordan Mason pushes Aaron Jones. I think we see a good year that he's coming off of and know that he's a really good back when he's out there, but he's old. He's breaking down, and they're adding youth behind him, and this offense should go to a passing heavier system this year and in the future. I just want to get out from Aaron Jones if I can.
Fitz, when you think about Aaron Jones, is he somebody that if you're a contender, would you be on the other side of this and say, like, I'd be willing to give up a pick to try and, go win a title this year, even understanding the age and everything? Or are you more along the side of Bogman where you'd rather be on the selling side of that?
No, I mean, I would be willing to take him for a pick or a young player, and it's because I don't think Aaron Jones should be real expensive in the trade market, and we do have a bunch of young players with commensurate values in the trade value chart, like Kyle Williams, Jalen Noel, Jalen Milroe, if you want to take a shot at a quarterback, Mason Taylor. Those guys are all in line, and that sounds exactly like what you should be targeting if you're a rebuilding team looking to trade Aaron Jones, as you should be. But as far as like wanting him for this year, I mean, I would maybe take issue with Bogman's contention he's breaking down since he's coming off a year in which he played all 17 games. Yeah, he did have an amped up workload. I think Mason Taylor is going to ease his workload a little bit, or excuse me, Jordan Mason this year. But man, I mean, I've watched Aaron Jones play for my Packers for a long time. I watched him play for the hated Vikings last year. He's just good, man. And
He's a
now,
good back. I liked him better than Jamal Williams.
yeah, and now he
coming
is
out.
in a Kevin O'Connell offense. And I might not like the Vikings, but I have to admit that Kevin O'Connell pretty much walks on water with what he can do with an offense. And I just think that both
Jordan Mason getting goal line carries though.
Jones and Jordan Mason could both be valuable this year for fantasy.
By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use promo code FantasyPros to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. That's promo code FantasyPros to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. All right, Fitz, your tight end.
Well, since I was just saying nice things about the
Yeah.
Vikings, or at least Kevin O'Connell, I'll go back on that and besmirch TJ Hockensen. And we've talked about Hockensen on this show before. I just, right now, ECR has him ranked ahead of Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren, which I think is just insane. But I still think that all the dynasty trade calculators out there and the trade value charts, including ours, have Hockensen overvalued. I think he is being overappraised right now. Like, he's going into his age 28 season. He's had a major knee injury, a torn ACL and torn MCL in late 2023. He has to share targets with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And while I think we're all cautiously optimistic about JJ McCarthy and what he might be able to do in Kevin O'Connell's offense, we don't know for sure whether McCarthy will even be adequate, let alone a quarterback who's capable of supporting 3 fantasy relevant pass catchers. And oh, by the way, Hockensen has never scored more than 6 touchdowns in a single season. So I have not understood the price on TJ Hockensen ever since the injury. Like, I kind of think that was the crest of his career, and now it's just going to be all downhill from here.
I had to pull us. I thought you were wrong when you said that he's higher than Warren and Loveland and ECR. That really surprises me. I'm not saying that he's
Worm, I had that same thought, dude. I was like, is he looking at
I was like, there's
this
no
season
way that's
ACR?
correct, but it is correct. And I'm seeing that now. And I find that stunning. I'm again, I'm not saying he should be 10 spots lower amongst tight ends, but Warren and Loveland, to me, the only tight ends with a case ahead of them, those guys right now are Bowers, McBride, Laporta, and then Kittle if you're a contender. I
Yep.
do not see a case for anybody else, including Hockensen ahead of those two. That's really surprising. I'm glad you brought that up, Fitz, because that really surprised me. So Bogman, clearly you agree.
Yeah, I'm. I feel like I haven't. Where do you have him, Fitz? Where do you say you have him?
Tight end 9.
I have him at 7, but I definitely have Loveland and Warren ahead of him. I go Bowers, McBride, Laporta, Loveland, Warren, Kittle. That's how I have it. So, yeah, I think if he's clearly third, right? Like it's Jefferson and it's Addison first. Then it's probably the running back, and then it's Hockensen. So he's the fourth option on a pass heavy team, which is a nice thing to have in a tight end.
Whoa.
So
What about Ty Felton? Okay, he's probably fourth.
yeah, Ty Felton could be good. Look, he could pass. It's within the realm of possibility. Worm, I would say it's maybe a 1%er, but it's in there. It's got a what if on Marvel at least. I know that. What if Ty Felton was the third option here? But yeah, look, Hockensen, I'm just lukewarm on. He's coming off an injury. The system is nice. If Addison keeps screwing up, then maybe he goes back to number 2 or something. But I don't know. I'm definitely not taking those upside tight ends, the rookies from this year, over him. That could be a massive mistake. We know tight ends. We were all in on Dalton Kincaid, and it has not worked out. So the tight ends are finicky. I understand that, and we've seen Hockensen have success in the past, but I'm very lukewarm on him.
I mean, these were better tight end prospects than Kincaid was, though. I think. I mean,
I think so too.
Went higher in the
Yes.
draft,
Oh, yeah.
and I like for me, like Hockensen, I think you can squint and see the case for if you're a contender, this might be a good year to have him because I mean, Justin Jefferson had like some of the hamstring stuff at the start of camp. Jordan Addison, we know, is going to miss the first 3 games of the season.
Tight end is a first-year starter, safety blanket.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another year removed from Hawkinson's major injury too that happened late in the season.
You can death by 1,000 cuts anything, really. You can add up and stack the narrative. You can.
28.
Yeah.
Also, like for tight ends, that's often like tight ends will break out around that age at times. Like it is a position that takes longer. So like I do think there's a case for Hockensen. Again, I don't think there's a case for him ahead of Warren and Loveland. I just think those guys are strong enough prospects in strong enough situations that I don't think you can make a very strong case for that. But I think you can make a case for Hockensen as somebody being worth buying in a very specific situation of you really need a tight end and you're a win now team. Because I see the case for this year. But Fitz, when you're looking to sell Hockensen, what are you looking to get in return?
Oh, so yeah, he's interesting because I don't know if you're selling him to, I guess maybe you're trying to sell him to a win now team. And man, so his value on our dynasty trade value chart in non-tight end premium is 40, which is akin to guys like Trey Harris, Luther Burden, Jaden Higgins. But man, is anyone taking TJ Hockensen for those guys? Like,
I doubt.
I think
you're trying to win now,
like a really deep receiver room who is win now and doesn't have a tight end. Like it would have to be. I think
Trey Harris. I guess those rookies would be fine.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing I'm probably going for. I suppose he's more of a win now target. It's just, I think Hockensen is talented, and had the injury not happen, I'd be a little more accepting of his current cost. But man, the combination of injury, advancing age, and just the target outlook in Minnesota has me pretty bearish on him right now.
I think I'm a little higher on Hockensen than you, Fitz. Like when you say tight end 9, that does seem low to me, but it definitely should be lower than tight end 5. He should not be ahead of those.
Should he be ahead of Tucker Kraft? More
to me, that's like a good back-to-back. I would probably lean Hockensen, but I wouldn't like dig my heels in if you wanted to go in the Kraft direction.
I have them 7, 8. I have Hockensen higher, but I could easily put.
I think those should be the two after that clear. Like again, Bowers, McBride, Laporta, Kittle, Warren, Loveland in some order. I do think Hockensen and Kraft should be the next 2.
Me too.
The guy ranked after those 2, after Tucker Kraft, I should say. Down at tight end 9 in ECR is David NJoku. That's your pick here, Bogman.
Yeah, and I like NJoku, but there's we're gonna death by 1,000 cuts this dude too, because they added Harold Fannin, who plays the same position but is definitely more of a slot. So they'll both be on the field together. But if they're both on the field together, then Fannin is going to be running the route and NJoku is going to be blocking, which because he's a good blocker and they've asked him to do it before. And I always keep going back to this example of when they drafted Harrison Bryant. and they had him running the routes and Njoku blocking. I feel like we're going to get a little bit of that with Harold Fannin. Now, I think Njoku is too good to be relegated to that primary blocking only role. But, last year was 44th in yards per reception, 40th in catch percentage, 39th in ADOT. This is a lot of because of bad quarterback play. But he's third in targets per game, 32nd yards per route run, 39th in yak per reception, 13th in yak overall. It's just not good enough for a tight end that's getting the ball at his volume. So, and he was first in end zone targets, and he only had 5 touchdowns, right? Again, horrific quarterback play, but when is that changing? It's not changing this year. No, it's Joe Flacco or one of the 17 guys they have behind him right now. And apparently Sanders is starting the first preseason game, and then Gabriel's going to start the next one, or vice versa, however they're going to end up doing it.
I'll tell you this just quickly on that point, Bogman. I'll be a lot more interested in Njoku if Flacco is the quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. And it should be for at least half this year. But when they're bad, Worm, Flacco's not starting the back half of this season. If they start 1-7, what is the point of having Flacco start any of these games? You know what you have in him. Let the kids go out, see what they have. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a bad year anyway. You might as well tank for one of these awesome quarterbacks at the top of the draft next year. So if you get halfway through the year and Flacco is not winning games, then they're going to go to the young quarterback, which that might benefit Njoku because maybe it's all short passes at that point. I just, the uncertainty of quarterback, this offense being first in pass attempts, passing percentage last season, because they were so miserable, it's also going to take away the volume that Njoku had last year. So I think drafting Judkins and Sampson, I think they're going to want to run the ball way more, specifically because of the bad QB play. We have no idea when this bad QB play is going to, be corrected or fixed. I think I'm out on David Njoku moving forward. I just, with them adding Harold Fannin, we know that Jerry Jeudy is going to get more, and Cedric Tillman moving forward in this offense, and them wanting to run the ball. I think Njoku might take a large hit this season and moving forward.
Yeah, and truthfully, like, I've never really been an Njoku guy. I know he's had good flashes, of course, and is super athletic and everything, but he's just never been a tight end that I target in any of my dynasty rosters. So I can't sell him because I don't have him anywhere. Fitz, what do you think about Njoku? Is he one of those guys that you have ahead of Hockensen with having Hockensen so low, or is he not one of those guys?
Let's see. I have him ranked. No, I've got him behind Hockensen.
Okay.
Even though, and he's actually a little older than Hockensen, which is weird, but he's not really an old tight end yet, even though he's played 8 NFL seasons. Njoku just turned 29, which is kind of interesting. He did come into the league really young. I guess, so I agree in principle with what a lot of Boggs is saying, but I do see some appeal for this year if it is Joe Flacco. But yes, that's the thing. It doesn't really behoove the Browns, who are clearly in rebuild mode, to play a 40-year-old quarterback for the entire season when they need to audition Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders to see what they have there. Because
I almost think for the fans, Fitzy, they need to let Sanders start some games and be miserable so that the fans aren't always saying, well, why don't you give Sanders a shot? Why don't you give Sanders, just let him be awful, but so that they'll shut up.
They do have to find out what they have with those two guys, because they have the extra draft pick now that they got from Jacksonville in the Travis Hunter trade. They have their own pick, which is probably going to be high in the draft, and it looks like a pretty good year for quarterbacks next year in the draft. So, but the only thing is, at the same time, we saw Njoku smash with Joe Flacco down the stretch in 2023. I mean, listen to some of these lines: 6 for 91 with 2 touchdowns. 10 for 104 with 1 touchdown, 6 for 134. Like, that was all in a 4-game stretch of late
with
2023.
With Jameis Winston throwing 66 passes a game or whatever, right?
No, that was with Flacco.
That was with Flacco.
Yeah. So like the Flacco Njoku combo has cooked before. And so I don't know if we're getting that early in the season. I mean, I guess there is some appeal to selling high and make sure
We're on a
you're
dynasty pod. You're talking about the Njoku Flacco stack, Fitzy.
hey
What's happening right now?
just make sure your trading partner gets to know about some of those stat lines
Well,
that NJoku put up with Flacco in 2023.
how about this, Fitzy? Would you rather hold on to Njoku, let him have a good couple weeks with Flacco, and then try to ship him? Is that a better? Do you think that's a better strategy for Njoku specifically? Or if he's good with Flacco, do you want to hold him? Because look, if they add Nussmeier, they should be a high passing offense, right? Like, is that something you? So I'll give the whole range of outcomes for a guy like Njoku, but my thing is, I see you add a guy like Fannin, you have no good quarterback play. It's a question mark moving forward, and you know, he's not old, but especially for a guy that's been in the league for as long as he hasn't done so much blocking, there's probably a lot of mileage on his
Yeah,
body,
I say let him cook with Flacco before you sell.
and then move him.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
that's fair too.
look what they have at wide receiver. I mean, it's Judy. Who knows if Deontay Johnson makes the team or if he has anything left. Cedric Tillman, who we still don't know enough about. Like Njoku is going to get targets, I think, even if he is in sort of that blocking role. I mean, we'll see how much Fannin plays, and
He might not play at all.
I love
I mean,
Fannin, but yeah, I'm still in wait and see mode for
I think
2025 with
the
him.
initial report from camp was that Fannin is kind of behind right now, so he might not play, a lot at all this year.
All right, let's go to your guys' single favorite sell candidate at any position. Fitz, start us off.
If anyone is still buying Brandon Aiyuk, I'm selling. And he is in ECR has him at wide receiver 34, which is ridiculously high. In like the trade calculators in our Dynasty trade value chart, he's more like the mid 40s, which is a little more reasonable. I've got him at wide receiver 60. Like he was wide receiver 24 in PPR points in 2022, tied for wide receiver 15 in PPR points per game in 2023. That was his high water mark, 2023, when he ranked number 1 in yards per target, number 2 in yards per catch, number 6 in yards per route run. The efficiency was just insane that year. But Aiyuk only averaged 6.6 targets per game in 2023. Like his 105 targets that year ranked 30th among wide receivers. And for Aiyuk to continue to provide anything close to wide receiver 2 value, he would have needed to either like grow his target share or just keep being freakishly efficient. And I would certainly bet against the continuation of that sort of efficiency. So, but then Aiyuk tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus last year, just a devastating injury. There's still no timetable on when he's going to be back this year. Possible 2025 is a lost season for him. He's 27 years old now. I just think he's kind of an easy fade. And look, I mean, Aiyuk has just never been a target hog. And is he going to be a high efficiency receiver post knee injury? That's what I'm worried about. And yet I think there's still like some name brand value where you might be able to get something for him in a deal. I would sell while the selling is good.
Bogman.
I don't have him that low. I think 60 is, I mean, that is, you're putting your money where your mouth is, right, Fitzy? Like 60 is low. I have him at 39 or 40, somewhere hovering around there. Let me just double check. I think it's 39. I have Aiyuk. So, yeah, look, I think that you're right in the possibility that, we don't know when he's coming back, major injury. I'll also say like his upside was with, the peak of Debo and Christian McCaffrey on that team. So he's like clearly third. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is the same guy. Obviously Debo's gone. You still have Kittle there as well. And Ricky Pearsall's an ascending talent. So I think I'm lukewarm on Brandon Aiyuk where I have him. I well below. You said he was, what's his ECR? Did you say, Fitzy? 34?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm way below that, obviously, at least half a round below that in just wide receivers. So I'm probably a couple rounds off of where Aiyuk is going in most dynasty drafts. But I don't know. I don't want to bury him, but you are right. This is a major knee injury, and you just never know how a dude is going to recover off of that. And this season, he's likely to start the year on the pup and miss at least the first month. Like you said, who knows after that? Like, this is the thing. These knee injuries take a year. They take a full year to be 100% from. You could play at 80%. You can play at 90%, but they take a full year to recover from at least.
At least. ACL, MCL, meniscus is the unholy trinity. Like, I
Yeah.
would say more than a year, probably.
We're still waiting for Javonte to become the same guy, right? Like Javonte
Yeah.
Williams looked really good. He had the same type of horrific knee injury, and we're still waiting on him to come around. So I don't mind selling Aiyuk at all, and definitely lower than ECR. I don't know if I would crush him like Fitzy does, but I understand it absolutely.
Bogman, give me your single favorite sell candidate, and you kind of put multiple guys in here, even though it's supposed to be just one.
Any Jaguars running back, sell them all is what I say. If one is good this year, sell him. I still think, in my opinion, I think Travis Etienne is still the best running back that Jacksonville has. Last year, he was awful, and Tank Bigsby beat him. And Tank Bigsby cannot catch a pass. Like, he's a 0 in the receiving game. So, if you're drafting Tank Bigsby, what you want from him is the best that we've seen from J.K. Dobbins, right? That's his peak. It's not a very good peak. It's not a draftable peak, in my opinion. Tootin is a complete unknown. I'll say he has a leg up here because he was drafted by the current regime. So they clearly do like him. He'll get a little bit longer of a leash, but he is guaranteed nothing. ETN has been banged up, obviously missed his entire first season. He's played a lot of games at less than 100%, and he was very inefficient last year. Do we want to put some of that on? Look, this guy started his career with Urban Meyer and Doug Peterson, and Trevor Lawrence has never lived up to his hype and all of that. We can, but at some point it just does not matter. And I think the point is already over. I don't like any of these running backs. I'm not drafting any of them. And I think that there are so many players that will come out in next year's draft that the Jaguars can draft or sign to replace all of these dudes. So I'm just not going to be investing in the Jacksonville Jaguars running back room at all in Dynasty.
Fitz, are you also viewing this backfield as a good one to be selling from, regardless of which name it is?
I mean, I'm just not that interested in having Tank Bigsby, even though his rushing metrics were really good and things like yards after contact per carry and missed tackles forced last year, just because he doesn't catch passes. And in PPR Dynasty, he's just not.
He ain't Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And now like that he is seemingly winning the race for the starters role, like that does sort of take a bite out of the value of ETN and Tootin, assuming Bigsby does have that starter's role. The only thing, like, I'm not totally ready to give up on ETN just because I want to see if he, maybe if that sort of wide zones, or I think it's kind of a wide zone scheme that Liam Cohen is running. Like, if that's maybe a better fit for ETN this year, because his rushing metrics last year were bad. Like, he was underwater in rushing yards over expected. He was like minus 0.28 per carry. Not good. And Tootin, like I do think a lot of the people who follow the rookie stuff went gaga over him. Like, they double counted his speed. The attractive thing about Tootin's prospect profile pre-combine was that he's fast. Then he clocked a really fast 40 time, and everyone's like, I'm moving him up to RB6 right behind like the big 5. Well, yes, we knew he was fast and was going to run fast. Don't double count it. But he is interesting just because like it's the new
if I'm rostering one, it's Tootin.
Yeah, it's the new regime that tabbed him as a guy they like, although granted they didn't do it until day 3, 4th round. So it's not like they went way out over their skis to acquire him. But he is at least somewhat interesting. I haven't gotten to him in any of my rookie drafts because there were always people who liked him more than I did. But I do think he is somewhat interesting. He wouldn't be a sell for me.
Let's open up the mailbag here to wrap up the show. These questions are coming from Twitter/X, but if you want faster replies from us or other diehard fantasy players, joining our chats, AMAs, and stages on Discord at fantasypros.com/chat is the way to do that. I actually want to start with a question that we did not get on the main account, but that was sent to me this morning that I thought was an interesting rookie draft question that I wanted to loop you guys in on. This comes from @agedcheese82, which is a great handle. Got a rookie draft question for you. He has the 104. Genty, Hampton, and Tet are all off the board. He is not a Travis Hunter fan, so he doesn't want to take Travis Hunter. He's wondering, should he pick Travion Henderson, Emeka Egbuka, or Cam Ward. It's a 2 QB league, but here is the catch that makes this really interesting. If he doesn't make a pick, he can pass. He gets the 101 next year.
Oh,
Does that change whether or not you guys would pick Travion Henderson, who I know Fitz really likes, Emeka Egbuka, who we all really like, Cam Ward in a 2 QB league makes sense. But again, if you don't pick, could be the 101. That could be Arch Manning. It could be anybody. It's whoever the best player is next year. Would you guys make a pick? And if so, who would it be? Either of you.
I'm taking Cam Ward in a 2 QB league. You said this is 12 team.
He didn't mention, but I would assume 10 or 12.
We're gonna assume it's 12,
Yeah.
right? 2 QB league. Everybody needs to start 2. That's 36. Math doesn't add up. Give me a starting quarterback in the NFL for years and years. So I love the idea of skipping this and getting number 1 overall next year, but I always go back to what Fitz has told me, and you have to wait a full year. That you have to take that into account of what that counts against your team. It's a full season of 0 production. So I would rather have Cam Ward take the risk, and because I think also if Cam Ward is good, you can trade him for something of comparable value to the first pick next year.
Well, and I also do think to that point, like it being a weaker class next year, at least the way we perceive it right now, I don't think that matters as much if you know you're getting the 101. Like to me, that is maybe impactful if I'm trading for a general first round pick that it could be later in the draft and therefore a lack of depth could really hurt me. There will be somebody that we are really interested in at the top of drafts.
Because if you didn't need Cam Ward this year, you were getting Genty. So yes, perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no real, obviously, sexy prospect sitting there for 2026. But man, this rule, how many people are going to be racing to waive their 2026 first round draft picks in this rookie draft to get a shot at Jeremiah Smith in 2027?
Yeah.
Better close up this loophole in this league real fast. Yeah, I think I agree with Bogman. I just take Cam Ward.
I responded, this was a few hours ago that I got this message, and I did say Ward is probably the correct pick, even though I do really love both Henderson and Egbuka. But I said that Ward was probably the pick for me as well. So we're not saying it emphatically, but we are saying it unanimously.
Yes. All right, good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really fun wrinkle. Like I don't know if I would like that or not in one of my leagues, but it makes for a fun thought experiment.
I'd like it if it worked for me. If it didn't, I would hate it.
Yeah, I'd like it if it got me Jeremiah Smith for sure.
Yeah, if I was sitting there at 101 in 2027 and someone jumped the line in front of me, I would not be liking that rule very much.
No, I would be livid if I had the worst team and that happened. All right, we got a couple other questions just in our general mailbag here. One of the questions we got was Chase or Bijan. I don't know if this really is a dynasty question or not, because that is a very common question for redraft leagues at the top this year. I love both. Obviously, I would pretty easily say Chase, just giving the weight to the receiver, but they're both great, Bogman.
Yeah, I mean, all things being equal, it has to be a wideout. So
yeah,
Chase over. He wants to be called Bijan now. So
yeah.
Bijan.
Yeah, I'm going with Chase too. Even if you're in a league where you only have to start 2 receivers, it's just wide receivers tend to age a little better than running backs.
Next question here is thoughts on this trade offer. Genty, Stroud, and McBride for the 407, Hurts, Kelsey, Tyreek, and AJ Brown. So I'll read that again. Genty, Stroud, McBride for a fourth round pick in a rookie draft. So a late pick that doesn't really matter. Hurts, Kelsey, Tyreek, and AJ Brown. It's a half PPR 12-team league.
Do we know if it's super flex?
It does not mention.
I mean,
I think I want the first side. Give me it one more time.
Genty, Stroud, and McBride for essentially, I'm going to skip the pick. Hurts, Kelsey, Tyreek, and AJ Brown.
Dynasty league, give me the first side. Give me the young side.
I think you have to take that. And granted, for 2025, I think side B is a little better with all those veterans, but like maybe not that much better if Travis Kelsey really does.
You're downgrading from Hurts to Stroud, but you're getting Genty. There's no other running back in this deal, and you're getting a top 2 tight end.
Yeah, I think you got to go with that side.
Next question here. How much of a premium over ADP do you guys put on an older wide receiver or high volume tight end when stacking them with the quarterback? So for example, how much ahead of ADP would you spend your draft capital to pair if you have Jay Daniels to get Terry McLaurin, if you have Bo Nix to get Cortland Sutton, if you have JJ McCarthy to get TJ Hockenson? Now, some of those guys we talked about as sells, but I think philosophically we can still answer the question. Bogman, what do you think?
It's a fun wrinkle, but you also when you have the stack, you also have the double bye week. So I think it cuts both ways. I don't adjust for it. So I'll say 0.
Yeah, not much, maybe just a spot or two, but I know a lot of people, well, there are different philosophies on this, but a lot of people see stacking as this force multiplier in Dynasty. I mean, I really think it's super advantageous in best ball in those, underdog contests or whatever platform has the contest where it's year-end playoffs and you are looking to, again, force multiplier is the key word, because if you have a great week out of a team where you're stacking players, it can propel you into big money in those events. But if you're just trying to win a week in a dynasty league, yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes not such a good thing. And I don't really go out of my way to stack in dynasty.
Last question here. Are mock drafts helpful? Yes, of course they are. I would highly recommend the mock draft simulator to give them a try if you want to get some practice reps in. But then the second part of the question, number one pick, thinking about a hero RB strategy. What do you guys think about hero RB?
I mean, for Dynasty, great. Do hero RB because that's the last thing we want to add to our roster anyway. I think I say it again, Worm. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
Just says number one pick, thinking about hero RB strategy.
I mean, it's fine, specifically in Dynasty, because that's the last thing we want to add. So yeah, get every other position first.
Fitz?
No, I think if it's a 1 QB Dynasty startup, I think taking Bijan over Chase is a bad move. I think you should.
I always confuse the hero. I think hero is when you take a late guy to be the hero, not you go hero first. Okay. I always screw it up.
No. So hero is like you take the one surefire thing and then don't take a strong RB2. I like that strategy in Dynasty and in redraft. Frankly, it's my favorite approach. But when you have the number one pick, I agree with Fitz. If it's super flex, take a quarterback. If it's not super flex, take Jamar Chase. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, redraft is fine. I'm cool with taking Bijan 101 in redraft.
I'm an old man. I can't get my sayings right. I apologize.
It's all good. We'll go ahead and wrap things up there. If everybody let us know, I want to hear in the comments what you guys think about that rule about if you skip your pick, you can get. I don't know if it has to be a high enough pick.
Some MLB draft stuff right there.
But I mean, kind of. You don't sign your guy. So yeah, would you in that situation take Henderson, Ibuka, or Cam Ward, or would you hold out for the 101 next year? Let us know in the comments. We'll wrap up there. For Bogman and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.